Hello, my dear church boys, and welcome to part 3 of the video series on how to master frame control in a structured way. In part 1, we looked at 3 different types of frame tests. We looked at active frame tests, meaning a girl is intentionally doing something to test your frame. We talked about frame traps, which basically are the situations when an innocent question a girl asked made a guy completely lose his frame and start doing some really weird things, overthinking frame control, etc. And we looked at what is frame filtering. That's something gold diggers, girls who are trying to friend zone you or make you her boyfriend do. These are 3 completely different situations. They require very different solutions. And it's important to understand that only a very small percentage of frame tests are actually active frame tests when girls are intentionally doing something to test your frame. In most cases, they are simply frame traps for something innocent a girl did, made the girl completely lose his mind. And then at the second video, we looked at my frame control ladder, 6 different levels of responses to frame tests, from non-reactivity, agree and amplify, calling it out in a jokingly way, a light push, a freeze out, and a royal flush. If you haven't done so yet, watch these videos before continuing with this one. In this video, we will talk about the most important principles when dealing with active frame tests, frame traps, and frame filtering. These principles are more important than the exact techniques you will use in these frame control situations. I actually came up with a better way to teach you about the techniques. I know I'll get a lot of questions about different frame control situations over the months and years, but there is no way for me to add them to a video after I published it on YouTube, so I found a better solution for this, but more on that later. Before we jump in, if you are a cool, successful guy who's going out but aren't getting great results yet, I'll help you double your numbers, dates, and lays for free. Check the link in the description titled Free Daygame Coaching. And now let's look at the most important principles you have to follow when dealing with active frame tests, frame traps, and frame filtering. We'll start with active frame tests. Remember, active frame tests are really rare, but the girls who use them really know what they're doing. If, on the other hand, you learn how to deal with these frame tests, they will become the nicest, sweetest girls you'll met, and they can be pretty wild in a good way. Remember in the previous videos, I talked about the girl who was intentionally going for these crazy makeouts and then completely stopping me. Then again, going for these crazy makeouts and then completely stopping me. She was doing that intentionally. And on top of that, she laid down with her head in my lap, and then once in a while just started brushing the back of her head against my crotch just to tease me. But after she saw I know how to handle all of these things, she became one of the best regulars I've had. She would come over just to give me random blowjobs. She's sending me wild videos, etc. And she used to come over to my place just to have some fun after some other guy who was simping over her would take her out for fancy dinners and other expensive dates. If active frame tests piss you off, it just shows that you don't yet understand how things really work. That is normal. She's not evil. She's just taking what all the guys are giving to her. You'll get desensitized towards these things the more experience you get. There are 2 biggest mistakes guys make when it comes to active frame tests. The first one is not reacting to what she's doing early enough. She'll start with some light things and guys would just they don't know how to react to it, so they are completely non-reactive, and she does something more and they're not reacting, and then she keeps upping the ante and they're still not reacting. But slowly deep inside, they're getting really, really pissed. And because they didn't know what to do, once they get too pissed, like they start boiling and they just snap at the girl, and that's when she leaves. They have completely lost the girl because they went from 0 to 100 because they didn't know how to react in the beginning. They didn't know all the steps on the ladder. They didn't know how to go from non-reactivity to maybe actually even pulling off royal flash, kicking her out of the apartment. They waited for all those emotions to bubble up and they just simply snapped at her. And the second thing they're doing is they're trying to have logical conversations about whatever it is that she's doing, and that's not the way to solve it. So what do you do in this situation? Depending on the frame test and situation, you'll have to use probably more than one of the 6 steps on the frame control ladder. You will start with non-reactivity, completely ignoring whatever she is doing. If needed, then you will move to agree and amplify. If she keeps doing it, you can call it out in a jokingly way. That's a way to bring it up as like, hey, you're calling it out, but you're making it as sort of a little joke to keep it lighthearted. If she keeps going forward, you'll have to do a light push, maybe even a freeze out, or even a royal flush. All of these moves are explained in a previous video in this video series. Maybe it'll be enough to just do 1, 2, or 3 of these moves, or in some cases you'll have to use all of them. I'll put together a PDF explaining how you should overcome specific situations in a problem solution type of way. Sign up to receive it by clicking the link in description, and when you do, respond to the email and let me know what situations I haven't covered yet. If that's something that I see a lot of guys are struggling with, I will add those situations to the PDF. This is the way how I can keep giving you more and more solutions to different problems after publishing this video. If you want to take control of your dating life and learn to approach women in any everyday situation in just 7 days, then I have one more coaching spot left available in June in one of my favorite day game cities in the world, and 6 more spots in different locations in Europe throughout the rest of the season. You'll find out all the information about how coaching usually works, approximate pricing, etc. by clicking the link in description. And now let's look at how to deal with frame traps. Frame traps are very different from active frame tests. She's just asking you a question. How old are you? Do you always date younger girls? And similar stuff. There are no bad intentions behind these questions. She's not testing your frame, and the only way you can fuck this up is if you become reactive and overthink these situations. The biggest mistake I see guys make here is they're trying to have a logical conversation about this. A logical conversation about age gap, a logical conversation about why they're daygaming, etc. I see this all the time. Instead, spark her emotions. When you do a good day game opener with a really nice stack, the idea is to spark her emotions so she forgets she's in a rush to a meeting, so she forgets for 30 seconds that she has a boyfriend. It kicks her from her logical brain to her emotional brain, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here as well. The only moves you need here are the lowest and simplest ones on the frame control ladder. If she didn't ask a question, instead if it's like a comment, a statement, or anything like that, first, ignore it and try to pivot to a different conversation topic. If ignoring the comment or the topic doesn't work and she keeps bringing it up, agree and amplify. If it's a question, then there's just one solution, agree and amplify, and I gave some examples on how to do that in the previous videos. It's really that simple. Frame traps are not active frame tests. They're just opportunities for you to fuck up by thinking that they are frame tests. Chill out. And thirdly, let's look at frame filtering. These are girls who are intentionally filtering for the right type of guy they want. Guys who will spend money on them, boyfriend material, friend zone, etc. But here let's break it down in 2 most common scenarios. First, gold diggers, and second, girls who are kind of offering to go on a coffee or a lunch date instead of an evening date when you ask them out. Let's start with gold diggers. There are some very clear signs, very easy to recognize. First of all, she asks you to order her a ride to arrive on a date. She insists on going to a specific fancy bar or restaurant, or she insists on you showing up with flowers or sending her flowers before you even go on a date. If you don't do these things, very often they will not meet you, because for them this is a way to simply filter for a guy who is totally fine to spend money on them. They don't want to waste time with anyone else. They're smart. And here comes the big mistake. Most of the men I work with don't care about spending a little money on an Uber ride, a fancy restaurant, on flowers. Actually, they would much rather spend money on these things than waste time on trying to find ways around these requests, because for them it's not a lot of money. And at the same time, these guys are learning day game because they have a history of attracting gold diggers. Why? Because a reasonable girl will never ask you for these things, but a gold digger will not go out with you unless you give her these things. And because in the past their thinking has been, well, I don't really care to spend like $100 on flowers or like $200 on a nice dinner out. They view this as small expenses. they're instantly attracting gold diggers. If you're getting these requests constantly, it means you're already signaling that you're this type of a guy, but how guys get there is a whole different conversation for another time. If you give in, you give them these things and you go out with them, you will run into different problems down the line. Some of these girls really know what they're doing. They are true professionals. You will not even see how they're playing you. You will not see it until it's too late. I know guys who have lost hundreds of thousands to girls like this, and they didn't see it until it was too late. What to do? Very simple. Lose the girl, don't lose the frame. If they're asking you to order them a ride, asking for flowers on a first date, or insisting on a specific fancy bar and restaurant, simply agree and amplify, and if that doesn't work, if they still insist on these things, draw a line and don't do it. If she's not fine with it, she's looking for a guy who will spend money on her. Lose the girl, don't lose the frame, don't be one of these guys. Oftentimes there is nothing you can do because she knows what she's looking for, you know what you're looking for. You're simply not looking for the same thing, so in these cases, it's better to lose the girl. This is especially important for wealthy guys who don't care about spending a bit of money on girls. I recently coached a guy just like that after he got divorced from his ex-wife. It started with small things, but by the end of it, he lost $300K to this girl. And now listen carefully. Even if it sounds like she's genuinely interested in you, don't do it. They know what they're doing. They are professionals. They know how to make you feel things. They are like very high-level seducers. Don't do it. You won't see it coming. The standard texting and dating rules explained in my free texting and dating courses on daygamecourses.com apply to all of these situations. Follow these rules and you will automatically avoid all these pitfalls. There's a poker analogy I like to make. If you end up with a really hard decision on a river where you're in a big pot, you don't know what to do now when the bet is coming your way, it's because of a mistake you made on the turn, flop, or even pre-flop. So make sure you're not making these mistakes when you start seeing a girl, because that will only lead to bigger problems on a flop, turn, and river. And finally, let's talk about what to do when you ask a girl out for a date and she offers to go for lunch or afternoon coffee instead. If you date request a girl for drinks in the evening and she instead is offering you something else like let's go on a lunch during lunch break, let's go for a quick afternoon coffee, she's essentially friend zoning you. If you meet her, it will almost always be a friendly meeting and you won't be able to turn this around in most cases. The biggest mistake? Oh, this is a nice one. A lot of guys will say, well, she's a cool girl, maybe I should have her as a friend. Well, ask yourself a question. If she was a guy at the same age, with the same life accomplishments, with the same goals, etc., would you consider having that guy as a friend? That should give you a good idea about whether you should meet her as a friend or you're just telling this lie to yourself because you like that girl. What to do? Very simple. Follow the standard texting and dating rules from the free courses on daygamecourses.com. Most of these answers are covered and answered there. So first of all, drinks in the evening or nothing. Just say you're usually working during the day, but you can make it this or that evening. That's it. Second, approach more girls. If this girl is so important to you, it simply means that you don't have enough leads. And third, if that doesn't help, if you're going out, putting in the volume, but you're simply not getting any numbers, it might mean that your day game is pretty bad and you might need to work on improving it. And if you are a cool, successful guy who is putting in volume, but you're not getting any results, then I will help you double your numbers, your dates, and lays, just as I explained in the beginning of this video. Simply click on a link in the description that says free day game coaching to learn all the details there. And just as with the gold diggers, also with girls who are inviting you for these afternoon coffees, the same principle applies. Lose the girl, don't lose the frame. What specific situations do you need solutions for? I didn't want to cover very specific situations here because over time people will ask questions about more and more situations and I can't edit a YouTube video after publishing it. I'll put together a simple PDF cheat sheet with most important takeaways from this video series, and a problem solution type of list for the most common frame control situations. Use the link in the description to sign up to receive it, and then send me an email telling about all the frame control situations you need solutions for, and if they're popular enough, I'll include them in the PDF. And if you want to finally start taking Daygame seriously and learn to approach women to get numbers and dates in any everyday situation in 1 week, then I have one more coaching spot left available in June in one of my favorite Daygame cities, and 6 more coaching spots available in Europe until the end of this season. You can find all the information about how coaching usually works, the approximate pricing, etc. by clicking the link in the description, and there you'll also be able to schedule a free call so we can talk all the details. That's it. See you in the next video. Ciao, guys.